Admiral Zexther stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and watched the planet below through the viewing screen. New Terra, the humans called it, a small colony world on the edge of unclaimed space. His 4 eyes narrowed as he reviewed the data again. This would be conquest number 128 for the Valdor Empire. The process was always the same: send a fleet, make demands. The new species would see the massive warships and surrender. Sometimes they resisted for a few hours. Sometimes they begged, but they always submitted in the end. 3,000 years of galactic dominance had taught the Valdor that overwhelming force always won. Zexer's communication officer turned to him. Admiral, the ultimatum has been transmitted. They have 1 hour to respond. Good, Zexter said. His scales rippled with satisfaction. He commanded 500 warships, more than enough to break any resistance. The humans were new to space. Their ships looked primitive. This would be over quickly. The hour passed slowly. Zexter expected surrender at any moment. Most species gave up within minutes of seeing the Valdor fleet, but the humans remained silent. When the deadline arrived, his communication officer looked confused. Admir, we have their response. Play it, Zexter ordered. A human face appeared on the screen, male with brown skin and gray hair. He wore a simple military uniform. This is Governor Marcus Chen of New Terra Colony. We have received your demands. Our answer is no. This is our home. We will defend it. Transmission ended. Zexter felt shock ripple through his body. They were refusing. He checked the numbers again. New Terra had only 23 warships in orbit. Small vessels barely worthy of the name. Against his 500, this was madness. They must not understand. His tactical officer said, should we demonstrate our power, destroy one of their moons? No. Zexter said, they will learn soon. Enough. All ships prepare for battle. Target their defensive fleet. Leave the planet intact. We need the population alive for labor. The Valdor fleet moved forward in perfect formation. Centuries of military tradition guided every movement. They had destroyed thousands of enemy fleets. This would be no different, but it was different. The human ships did not flee. They charged directly at the Valdor formation. Zexter watched in disbelief as the tiny vessels accelerated to impossible speeds. They were not trying to win. They were trying to do maximum damage before they died. Evasive maneuvers, he shouted, but it was too late. 3 human ships slammed directly into Valdor cruisers. The explosions lit up space like new stars. Then the real attack began. The humans deployed thousands of small drones, not sophisticated weapons, simple machines packed with explosives. They swarmed the Valdor fleet like angry insects. Zexter's ships fired their weapons, advanced particle beams that could slice through metal like paper. They destroyed hundreds of drones, but there were always more. And while the Valdor focused on the drones, the human warships attacked from unexpected angles. The humans fought with no regard for their own survival. One damaged human ship, its hull torn open to space, rammed a Valdor destroyer. Another set itself to overload and drifted into a cluster of Valdor fighters before exploding. It was chaos. It was insanity. They are using civilian ships, his tactical officer reported. Those cargo vessels are launching kinetic projectiles. Zexter could not believe it. the humans had armed their merchant ships and sent them into battle. Some were clearly mining vessels using their drilling lasers as weapons, others were passenger liners with missile pods strapped to their hulls. It was crude, desperate, and somehow it was working. The battle lasted 6 hours. In the end, the Waldorf fleet won. All 23 human warships were destroyed. The civilian vessels were either captured or obliterated. New Terra's orbital defenses were reduced to debris, but Zexthor looked at his casualty reports and felt cold dread. 200 ships lost, another 100 damaged. Beyond immediate repair, 40% of his fleet was gone. In his 3 centuries of service, he had never seen such losses. The Empire had not suffered casualties like this in 200 years. Scan for survivors, he ordered. Bring them aboard for interrogation. His soldiers recovered 17 human survivors from the wreckage. Zexthor went to the medical bay to see them himself. He needed to understand what kind of species would fight so fiercely. The humans were injured, some badly, but none of them seemed afraid. They looked at their Valdor captors with something Zexthor could not quite identify: defiance, pity. One human soldier, missing an arm and covered in burns, actually smiled at him. "You won," the human said in broken Valdor language. "Congratulations." Was it worth it? Zethar felt anger rise in his chest. "You fought bravely for primitives, but your courage was wasted. Your world is now property of the Valdor Empire." The human laughed. "Actually laughed? Is that what you think? That you won? Your fleet is destroyed. Your planet is defenseless. What else would you call it?" The human smile faded. Now Zexthor saw what he had not recognized before. Not defiance, not pity. Sympathy. "We are a colony, Admiral. Farmers, miners, families who came here to build new lives. That fleet you destroyed. Colonial militia, weakened warriors playing soldier, and you lost 200 ships to them." Zexthor's blood went cold. "What do you mean?" "I mean the human said softly. "That Earth's actual military is coming, the real fleet, and they are not happy about what you did here." Before Zexthor could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. His communication officer's voice came through. "Admiral, urgent message from our scout ships. Multiple large fleets detected human signatures. They are converging on the system." Zexthor left the medical bay and ran to the bridge. The display showed red warning indicators everywhere. 15 human fleets, each one larger than his own, and they were all moving toward New Terra. He immediately sent a priority transmission to the Valdor home world. Emperor Vaxel himself responded within the hour. The Emperor's face filled the screen, his expression stern. "Admiral Zexthor, report." Zexthor explained everything: the battle, the losses, the incoming human fleet. He watched the Emperor's face change from stern to concerned to disbelieving. "You lost 200 ships to 23 primitive vessels." "Yes, my Emperor, but there is more. According to the prisoners, what we fought was not their military, it was colonial defense forces, civilians with minimal training." The Emperor was silent for a long moment. "What are you saying, Admiral?" "I'm saying we may have made a grave error, my Emperor. We attacked what we thought was a weak species, but I do not think they are weak. I think we just saw their weakest forces, and those forces cost us 40% of my fleet." The Emperor's expression hardened. "Retreat to the proximal defense line. I will send reinforcements, the 7th Grand Armada. We'll deal with these humans, 5,000 ships. Should be more than sufficient, my Emperor. With respect, I recommend we attempt diplomacy. Perhaps we can. We are the Valdor Empire, the Emperor's voice thundered. We do not retreat from primitives. We do not negotiate with species who refuse our rightful dominion. The 7th Grand Armada will crush them. That is final. The transmission ended. Zexor stared at the blank screen, then he looked at the tactical display. 15 human fleets were still approaching, and somewhere beyond them Earth waited, a planet he had never seen, a civilization he had underestimated. He thought about the wounded human soldier and his sympathetic expression, like someone watching a person walk toward a cliff in the dark. Zexor gave the order to retreat as his damaged fleet limped away from New Terra. He could not shake the feeling that the Valdor Empire had just made the worst mistake in its 3,000-year history. Emperor Vaxel sat in his throne room and listened to the reports. The loss at New Terra troubled him, but he refused to show weakness. The Valdor Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3 millennia. One setback meant nothing. The 7th Grand Armada is ready, my Emperor, his military advisor announced. 5,000 ships. Commander Rathseek has been briefed on human tactics. And what is his assessment? The Emperor asked. He believes Admiral Zethor was caught off guard by unconventional warfare, with proper preparation and overwhelming numbers. The humans will be crushed quickly. The Emperor nodded. 5,000 ships the 7th Grand Armada had toppled entire civilizations. It represented 15% of the Empire's total military strength, more than enough to handle one primitive species. Send them immediately. I want this resolved before other species begin to question our power. What the Emperor did not know was that his intelligence network had failed him completely. Baldor scouts had been watching Earth itself, and their reports painted a picture of minimal defenses. Few orbital stations, small patrol fleets, nothing impressive. The scouts interpreted this as weakness. They did not understand human military doctrine. Humans did not believe in static defense. They believed in projection of power. Their real strength was not in orbit around Earth. It was scattered across hundreds of systems, ready to deploy anywhere at any time. Commander Raths led the 7th Grand Armada with confidence. He had studied the battle at New Terra. The humans relied on surprise and suicidal tactics. His fleet would stay in formation. They would use their superior weapons at long range. They would not allow the humans to get close. The Armada traveled for 3 weeks to reach the Proxima Junction, a major trade route hub. Intelligence suggested this was where the human fleet would make its stand. Wrath scouts reported 800 human vessels waiting for them. Only 800, Wrath 6 said with satisfaction. They are either overconfident or desperate. All ships. Battle formation. We advance as one wall. Destroy them at maximum range. 2 fleets met in the empty space between stars. The Valdor began firing their particle cannons at extreme distance. The weapons were accurate and deadly. Several human ships exploded immediately, but the humans did not behave as expected. Instead of charging recklessly, they scattered. Their fleet broke into dozens of smaller groups, each moving in different directions at high speed. It reminded Rathsk of water. Flowing around rocks, maintain. Formation, he ordered, do not break. Ranks, then the human weapons arrived. Missiles moving at 90% of light speed. By the time Valdor sensors detected them, there was less than a second to react. They tore through Valdor shields. Like they were not there, dozens of ships exploded in the first salvo. How are they generating that much acceleration? His science officer shouted. It does not matter, returned fire, but the humans were already inside. The Valdor formation, their smaller ship, zipped between the massive Valdor cruisers, launching torpedoes and rail gun slugs at close range. Razek realized with horror that his own ships could not fire without risking hitting each other. Then the psychological warfare began. Human transmissions flooded every Valdor communication channel. Music, strange, aggressive music with pounding rhythms and screaming vocals. Mixed with the music were recordings of human laughter, human battle cries, humans singing while their ships burned. Block those transmissions, Raths ordered, but it was too late. The psychological effect was devastating. Valdor crews began to panic. They had never faced an enemy that seemed to enjoy combat, an enemy that sang while dying. The human AI swarms came next, thousands of small drones, each one learning from the others. They adapted to Valdor point defense in real time. When the Valdor switched tactics, the drone switched faster. It was like fighting a single organism with 10,000 bodies. The battle raged for 14 hours. The Valdor's superior number slowly ground down the human fleet. One by one, human ships were destroyed, but the cost was terrible. For every human ship that died, it took 4 or 5 Valdor ships with it. When the last human vessel finally exploded, Raths looked at his fleet status and felt sick. Only 1,200 ships remained functional. 3,800 were destroyed or too damaged to continue. The 7th Grand Armada, pride of the Empire, was broken. Sir, we are detecting escape pods, his tactical officer reported. Should we destroy them? No, Ratzig said quietly. Bring them aboard. We need answers. The Valdor recovered 43 human survivors. Most were injured. All were brought to the flagship for interrogation. Rath went personally to question the highest ranking prisoner, a human female with the rank insignia of a captain. She sat calmly despite her injuries. Her left leg was broken. Burns covered half her face, but her eyes were clear and steady. I am Commander Rath of the Valdor 7th Grand Armada. You fought well, but your fleet is destroyed. 3rd Fleet, the captain said. We were 3rd Fleet. What? You didn't destroy our fleet, you destroyed 3rd Fleet. Specifically 3rd Fleet's Rapid Response Squadron. The main body of 3rd Fleet is 2 systems away, dealing with pirates. Raths felt confusion wash over him. You are saying that was not your main force? The captain smiled. Sadly, Commander Earth maintains 12 numbered fleets. Each one is comparable in size to what you just fought. That's not counting system defense forces or colonial militaries or reserve fleets. Or that is impossible, Raths interrupted. No species can maintain such a military. We don't maintain them. Not really. Most of 3rd Fleet were reservists called up 2 weeks ago. Regular people with military training who were working civilian jobs. When we need a fleet, we just build ships and call up personnel. Our shipyards can Produce 1,000 vessels a month if we push. Wrath stared at her. Why would any civilization maintain such capacity? The captain's expression turned distant. Because we spent 10,000 years killing each other, we got very, very good at it. World wars, nuclear weapons, conflicts that killed hundreds of millions. When we finally reached the stars, we didn't forget those lessons. We just hoped we'd never need them again. Before Rathzek could respond, alarms blared. His sensor officer's voice came through the communication system. Commander, multiple fleet signatures detected, 30 separate groups. Total count exceeds 10,000 vessels. Razek ran to the bridge. The display showed red warning markers everywhere. Human fleets converging from multiple directions, not just one or two, dozens of them. He opened a secure channel to the Emperor. This time he did not wait for formalities. My Emperor, the 7th Grand Armada, has suffered catastrophic losses. Only 1,200 ships remain operational, and sir, we have detected massive human fleet movements. They are converging on our position with overwhelming numbers. The Emperor's face appeared, and for the first time in Wrath's service, he saw fear in his ruler's eyes. How many ships? Our estimate is over 10,000, my Emperor. And, based on interrogation of prisoners, this may be only a fraction of their total military capacity. The fleet we destroyed was identified as Third Fleet. They claim to have 12 such fleets, plus additional forces. The silence stretched for a long moment. Finally, the Emperor spoke. Retreat immediately. Fall back to the inner systems. I am recalling all distant fleets. We must consolidate our forces. My Emperor, what about the conquered territories? Leave them. Our priority is defending the core worlds. If the humans continue their advance, we will need every ship we have. The transmission ended. Razek gave the orders to retreat. His surviving ships began the long journey home. As they fled, he thought about the human captain's words. A civilization that spent 10,000 years perfecting warfare, a species that considered massive fleets to be normal. The Valdor Empire had ruled for 3,000 years by being the strongest military power in the galaxy, but they had never encountered a species for whom war was not just a tool of empire. For humans, war was part of their cultural identity, something they had refined across countless conflicts. Rathzek realized that the Empire had not attacked a weak species, they had attacked a sleeping predator, and now that predator was awake and very, very angry. In the medical bay, the human captain sat alone. In her cell, she could hear the Valdor crew's panicked voices through the walls. She felt pity for them. They truly did not understand what they had started. She thought about Earth, about the shipyards working day and night, about reserves being called up across human space, about First Grand Fleet being assembled, 50,000 ships, the largest human military formation ever created. The Valdor thought this was a war. It was not yet. This was humanity being annoyed. If the Empire did not surrender soon, they would learn what a human war really looked like, and by then it would be too late. Admiral Zexther stood in the Emperor's war room, alongside dozens of other senior officers. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls, now marked with red indicators, showing human fleet movements. There were too many red marks, far too many. Status report, the Emperor demanded. An intelligence officer stepped forward. Her scales had lost their usual vibrant Color dulled by stress, my emperor, we have confirmed major human offensives on 3 fronts. Each attack force consists of at least 3,000 ships. They are systematically targeting our frontier colonies and our forces. The emperor asked, we are winning most engagements, but casualties are severe. We destroy 2 human ships for everyone we lose. But they keep coming, they replace losses faster than we can count them. Sex Thor cleared his throat. My emperor, with your permission, I have analyzed human communication intercepts. What we have learned is disturbing. The emperor gestured for him to continue. The humans do not maintain standing armies the way we do. Their entire economic system is designed to convert from civilian to military production rapidly. We have identified over 300 major shipyards across human space. 2 weeks ago they were building cargo vessels and colony ships. Now they are building warships. They are producing approximately 1,200 new vessels per week. The room fell silent. Finally the emperor spoke. That is impossible. No economy can sustain such production. Zexer pulled up holographic displays. They are doing it. My emperor, human civilization has 167 billion citizens across 240 colonies. Their industrial capacity exceeds our entire empire by a factor of 10, and they are using it all for war now. Another officer spoke up, but surely they cannot crew all those ships. Training military personnel takes years. Under normal circumstances, yes, Zexer agreed, but humans do not have normal circumstances. Every human citizen receives basic military training. It is mandatory. They can take a civilian and turn them into a functioning soldier in weeks. Their research system means millions of trained personnel can be activated immediately. The emperor looked at the maps. Then we kill their shipyards, target their industrial centers. If they cannot build ships, they cannot fight. We tried, my emperor, the intelligence officer said quietly. 3 separate strike forces attacked human industrial worlds. All 3 were destroyed before reaching their targets. The humans defend their core systems with terrifying effectiveness. They seem to know where we will attack before we do. Zexer understood why. Human intelligence gathering was sophisticated in ways the Valdor had not anticipated. They did not rely on scouts and spies alone. They used vast computer networks, AI analysis, and what they called pattern recognition. They could predict Valdor movements based on fleet positioning and supply lines. A communication officer interrupted. My emperor, incoming transmission. It is marked as a priority. Message from the human military. Play it. The emperor ordered. The display showed a human woman in a crisp military uniform. She appeared to be in her 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes. I am Fleet Admiral Sarah Chen of the Solar Defense Coalition. This message is directed to Emperor Vul of the Valdor Empire. The emperor leaned forward. I am listening. Emperor, your forces attacked our colony at New Terra without provocation. You killed 40,000 civilians. You then attacked our fleets when we responded to defend our people. This aggression cannot stand. You refused our legitimate demands. The emperor shouted, your species must submit to the natural order. Admiral Chen's expression did not change. There is nothing natural about your empire. Vul, you have conquered 127 species. Through violence, you enslave Populations, you steal resources. You claim to bring order, but you bring only suffering. Every species resisted us. Every species now prospers under our rule. Do they? We have been monitoring your communications. 63 of your subject species have already declared independence in the past month. They see that you can be defeated. They are rising up. The Emperor's face darkened. Temporary chaos, we will restore order. With what forces? You have lost over half your military in the past 6 weeks. Meanwhile, we are just getting started. The fleets you have faced so far, those are our rapid response forces, 3rd Fleet, 7th Fleet, 11th Fleet, Reserve units mostly adequate for policing and patrol. Then what have we been fighting? The Emperor demanded. Admiral Chen smiled slightly. The peacetime navy. Emperor, we maintain those fleets for pirates, smugglers, minor threats. They are designed for quick deployment, not sustained combat. But now you have our full attention. 1st Grand Fleet is being assembled. 50,000 ships, that is. We are serious now. Fleet, Zexther felt his blood run cold. 50,000 ships. It was more than the entire Valdor military at full strength. You are bluffing, the Emperor said, but his voice lacked conviction. Am I? Let me explain something about human civilization, Emperor. We do not maintain peacetime armies. We maintain the capacity to build wartime armies. Every shipyard can be converted. Every factory can produce military equipment. Every civilian has basic military training. When humanity goes to war, we do not send an army, we become an army. She continued, her voice calm but implacable. We spent 10,000 years fighting ourselves. We had 2 world wars that killed hundreds of millions. We developed nuclear weapons and nearly destroyed our own planet. We learned to build war machines because our survival demanded it. When we reached the stars, we brought that knowledge with us. Emperor was silent. Admiral Chen leaned forward. You thought we were weak because you saw our frontier colonies. You thought we were primitive because our ships look simple, but you did not ask the important question: why would a species build such extensive military infrastructure during peacetime? Why would they train every citizen for war? Why would they design their entire economy for rapid military conversion? Why? The Emperor asked quietly. Because we have been afraid since we first looked up at the stars. Afraid of what we might find out here. Afraid of hostile aliens. Afraid of threats we could not imagine. So we prepared. We built redundant systems. We spread our population across hundreds of worlds so no single attack could destroy us. We became very, very good at violence, and we hoped we would never need to use those skills again. Admiral Chen's expression hardened. But then you attacked New Terra. You killed our people. You forced us to become what we had hoped to leave behind. And now you are learning what humanity is capable of when we are truly angry. Transmission ended. The war room was silent. Finally, one of the younger officers spoke. My Emperor, this must be propaganda. 50,000 ships. It is impossible, is it? Zexther said quietly. We have seen their production capacity. We have seen their population numbers. We have seen how they fight. Admiral Chen was not making threats. She was stating facts. The Emperor stood and walked to the galactic map. His empire, marked in blue, had seemed so vast just months ago. Now it looked small, fragile. Human territory was marked in Green, it was smaller than the Valdor Empire in total systems, but the infrastructure markers told a different story. Shipyards, industrial worlds, population centers, hundreds of them. What are our options? The Emperor asked. His military council looked at each other. Finally Zexer spoke. We can continue fighting and hope to win. Through attrition, we can fortify our core worlds and prepare for a siege. Or we can negotiate while we still have leverage, negotiate with primitives who refuse our rightful dominion. With respect, my Emperor, they are not primitives. We made that mistake. They are a peer power we failed to recognize. And if we continue this war, they will not stop at defeating us. They will dismantle the Empire completely. Already, dozens of our subject species are in open revolt. Human agents are encouraging them. The humans are not just fighting us, they are liberating our territories. Another officer added. Intelligence reports suggest the humans have made contact with resistance movements on 17 conquered worlds. They are offering support, weapons, training. If this continues, we will face rebellions across the Empire while fighting a war on multiple fronts. Emperor looked old suddenly. The weight of 3,000 years of imperial history pressed down on him. And if we negotiate, what will they demand? Unknown, my Emperor. But Admiral Chen's message suggested they want independence for conquered species, not necessarily our destruction. The Emperor closed his eyes. Summon my diplomatic corps. Prepare a communication requesting negotiation terms and recall all remaining fleets to defend the core worlds. As the meeting dispersed, Zexer remained behind. He looked at the map and thought about the young Valdor who would grow up in a galaxy where their empire was no longer dominant, where humanity had proven that overwhelming force could be overcome by overwhelming capacity. He thought about Admiral Chen's words. Humanity had been preparing for this for generations, not preparing to conquer, preparing to survive. And in learning to survive, they had become the most dangerous military power the galaxy had ever seen. The irony was bitter. The Valdor Empire had attacked humanity to prove their strength. Instead, they had revealed their weakness, and now everyone in the galaxy knew it. In orbit around Earth, construction continued on First Grand Fleet, 50,000 ships all scheduled for completing. The Emperor stared at the holographic projection. His military advisors had spent 3 days planning this operation. 8,000 ships, 60% of the remaining Valdor military, all commit to a single desperate strike. Explain it again, the Emperor demanded. Commander Rathzek recovered from his injuries at Proxima Junction, stood beside the display. My Emperor, we cannot win a war of attrition against humanity. They replace losses too quickly, but every military has a command center for humanity. That center is Earth. If we strike there, destroy their government and shipyards, we can decapitate their entire war effort. But Earth is their home world. It will be heavily defended. Yes, my Emperor, but not as heavily as you might think. Our scouts report that most of Earth's defensive fleets have been deployed to offensive operations. The humans are confident we cannot reach their core systems. We will use that confidence against them. Admiral Zexer stood nearby, silent. He had argued against this operation, warned that it was too risky, but the Emperor was desperate. The Empire was collapsing. Rebellion spread daily, human fleets continued their relentless advance. This strike was meant to change everything. When do we launch? The Emperor asked. The fleet is ready now, my Emperor. Commander Kith will lead the attack. I will remain here to coordinate defense of the home world. The Emperor nodded. Do it. Bring me Earth. Surrender or do not return. Commander Kath was young for his position, only 60 years old, aggressive and ambitious. He believed the Empire's recent defeats were due to old commanders using outdated tactics. He would show them how modern warfare was conducted. His fleet of 8,000 ships entered faster than light travel and headed for Earth. The journey took 9 days. During that time, Calith reviewed every piece of intelligence on Sol system. The asteroid belt could be problematic, but his fleet could clear it. The outer planets had some defensive installations, but nothing serious, and Earth itself showed only modest orbital defenses. The humans have made a critical error, he told his officers. They sent their fleets away and left their home world exposed. We will exploit that mistake. The fleet arrived at the edge of Sol system and immediately began scanning. Kath smiled as the sensors confirmed intelligence reports. The asteroid belt had been modified, mining equipment and weapons platforms annoying but manageable. Jupiter's moon showed defensive installations. Neptune had a small shipyard and Earth itself had 2,000 ships in orbit, only 2,000 against his 8,000. Even if the human ships fought with their usual ferocity, the numbers favored him overwhelmingly. All ships. Battle formation. We advance in 3 waves. First wave engages the orbital defense fleet. Second wave destroys ground-based defenses. Third wave holds in reserve. Proceed at maximum speed. The Valdor fleet swept into Sol system. Like an iron fist, they passed Neptune's orbit. The small shipyard there launched missiles, but the fleet's point defense destroyed them easily. They passed Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter each time. Minor defensive installations harassed them, but nothing significant. Then they reached the asteroid belt. That was when the real defenses activated. Thousands of weapons platforms hidden among the asteroids opened fire simultaneously. Rail guns launching projectiles at relativistic speeds, missile batteries, laser arrays. The asteroids themselves had been converted into fortresses. Evasive maneuvers. Return fire. Kith shouted. His fleet scattered and began destroying the platforms. It cost him 300 ships, but they cleared a path through. Mars had a garrison that launched a desperate attack. Calith's forces crushed them, losing another 100 ships. Now Earth lay before them. The 2,000 human ships moved to intercept. Calith felt triumph surge through him. This was it, the decisive battle. First wave, engage enemy fleet. Second wave, prepare to move past them to planetary bombardment positions. Third wave, stay in formation behind us. The Valdor first wave, 3,000 ships, crashed into the human defensive fleet. The battle was fierce. Human ships fought with their characteristic intensity, but they were outnumbered. Calith watched with satisfaction as his forces began to overwhelm them. The human fleet began a fighting retreat, pulling back toward Earth exactly as Kith had predicted. They were trying to use Earth's orbital defenses to even the odds. Pursue them, do not let them regroup. Calith ordered. His fleet pushed deeper into Earth's orbital Space, the human ships continued falling. Back, Kath's forces were taking casualties, but not enough to matter. They would win this. Then Admiral Sarah Chen's voice echoed across every communication channel. Now, space around Earth seemed to shimmer. Ships appeared, not dozens, not hundreds, thousands of ships, materialized from stealth, emerging from positions throughout the inner solar system. They had been hiding in the Kuiper Belt using advanced stealth technology that rendered them invisible to Valdor sensors. Kath stared at his tactical display in horror as the numbers updated. 8,000 new contacts. Human warships all around his fleet. He was surrounded. It was a trap, he whispered. All of it, a trap. The Earth defense fleet stopped retreating and turned around. Now Kath's forces were caught between two human fleets, 10,000 human ships against his 8,000, and the humans had the advantage of position. All ships defensive formation. Concentrate fire, we can still the human attack. Cut off his words. This was not like the previous battles. The humans did not use suicide tactics here. They did not need to. This was coordinated professional military action, precise, overwhelming. The human ships moved in perfect coordination, groups of 10, focusing fire on single Valdor ships. When one target was destroyed, they switched to the next. It was systematic, efficient, brutal. Callous communication officer screamed, "Sir, they are jamming our faster than light communications. We cannot call for reinforcements. Then we fight our way out. All ships prepare to break through their lines." But there were no weak points in the human formation. Every direction Kith turned, more human ships waited. They had planned this perfectly. They had known exactly how many ships the Valdor would send. They had known the route. They had prepared accordingly. Admiral Zexther watched from the Valdor home world through the limited information they could receive. Scout ships at the edge of Sol system transmitted what data they could before human forces destroyed them. Zexthor saw the truth in those final transmissions. The Earth orbital defense fleet, the asteroid fortifications, the planetary defenses, all of it had been theater, a performance designed to make the Valdor fleet commit completely to draw them deep into the system where the real defense fleet waited in stealth. The humans had sacrificed their defensive fleet as bait. Every ship that died in that initial engagement was a calculated loss, and now they were taking their revenge. The Battle of Sol lasted 18 hours. When it ended, only a handful of Valdor ships escaped. Commander Kath was not among the survivors. His flagship had been destroyed in the opening minutes of the human counterattack. Of 8,000 ships that entered Sol system, fewer than 500 returned. The worst military defeat Valdor history, and it came at their enemy's home world. Admiral Zexther brought the news to the Emperor. Personally, he found Vaxel in the throne room looking older than his centuries. Kath is dead. The fleet is destroyed. Only scattered survivors escaped. The Emperor said nothing for a long time. Finally, how many ships do we have left? Approximately 3,000, my Emperor. Scattered across our remaining territories, most are needed to suppress rebellions, and the humans' first grand fleet has been confirmed, 80,000 ships. My Emperor, they are moving toward our space. Multiple subject species have joined them. They are not coming just to defeat us, they are coming to liberate every world we have conquered. Emperor closed his eyes. How long until? They reach the home world, 3 weeks. Perhaps 4 if we are fortunate, and can we stop them? Zexer remained silent. The answer was obvious to both of them. 3,000 ships against 80,000, even if every Valdor vessel fought to the death. It would not be enough. Summon the diplomatic corps, the Emperor said. Quietly, prepare a formal request for peace negotiations. And Zexer, yes, my Emperor, you were right from the very beginning. We should have negotiated. After New Terra, we should have recognized what we were facing. I let pride guide me instead of wisdom, and now our empire will pay the price. Zex. Thor bowed. The empire has endured for 3,000 years, my emperor. Perhaps it can endure this as well in a different form. As Zex Thor left to carry out his orders, he thought about the human fleet. Approaching 80,000 ships, a fleet so large it defied imagination, and according to intelligence reports, the humans could build more if needed. The Valdor Empire had begun this war, believing they faced primitives. Now they knew the truth. They had attacked the most dangerous military power in the galaxy, a species that had prepared for total war for generations. A species that did not fight wars to conquer but to ensure their own survival, and survival for humanity meant utterly destroying any threat to their existence. The message went out across all Valdor channels. Requesting peace, the diplomatic shuttle approached the Valdor home world under heavy escort. Ambassador Maria Rodriguez sat inside, reviewing her notes one final time. Around her ship, 80,000 human vessels maintained formation. First Grand Fleet, the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. She looked out the viewport at the Valdor capital below, a beautiful world, blue oceans, green continents, not so different from Earth. Somewhere down there, an ancient empire waited to learn its fate. Admiral Zexter met her at the spaceport. He looked tired. His scales had lost their shine, but he held himself with dignity as he bowed. Ambassador Rodriguez, welcome, Devaled Prime. The Emperor awaits you. They traveled through the capital city in a ground transport. Rodriguez studied the streets, normal citizens going about their lives, families, children. They looked worried but not panicked. They did not know how close they had come to annihilation. The imperial palace was magnificent, thousands of years of accumulated wealth on display, artwork from 100 conquered species, trophies from countless military victories. It reminded Rodriguez of old Earth empires, beautiful and terrible at once. Emperor Vaxo waited in a smaller chamber, not the throne room, a gesture of humility. Rodriguez understood. He rose as she entered, another break from tradition, the mighty emperor standing for a human diplomat. Ambassador Rodriguez, thank you for agreeing to meet Emperor Vol. I am here at the request of my government to discuss terms. They sat across from each other. Admiral Zexter stood to one side, officially as advisor but also as witness. Rodriguez pulled up a holographic display showing her government's demands. First, immediate independence for all conquered species. The Valdor Empire will withdraw all military and administrative forces from subject territories within 6 months. Emperor nodded slowly. We expected this. Continue. Second, war reparations. You will compensate the human colonies attacked at New Terra and other locations. The amount will be determined by a joint human-Valdor commission. Acceptable. Third, demilitarization. Oversight. Your military will be reduced to defensive forces only, human. Inspectors will verify compliance for 20 years. The Emperor's expression hardened slightly, but he nodded. We have no choice but to agree. Is there more? No. Occupation of Vald Prime or other core Valdor worlds. No forced regime change. You may maintain your government and sovereignty provided you comply with the treaty terms. The Emperor looked surprised. You do not demand our subjugation after everything. Rodriguez met his gaze. No, Emperor, we did not fight this war to build an empire. We fought because you attacked our people. Now that you have agreed to peace, we have no desire to occupy your worlds. Zexther spoke up. Forgive my question, Ambassador, but why? You have the power to do as you wish. We could not stop you, because that is not who we are. Rodriguez replied, or at least not who we want to be. Humanity has made many mistakes throughout our history. We have built empires, enslaved populations, committed terrible atrocities. We learned slowly and painfully that might does not make right, that conquest brings only temporary power and long-term suffering. She paused, choosing her words carefully. We could destroy your civilization, Emperor, occupy your worlds, impose our rule, but then we would become what we fought against. We would become another Valdor empire, and eventually some other species would rise up to challenge us, just as we challenged you. The Emperor leaned back in his chair. You truly do not seek dominion. We seek security, peace, the freedom to live our lives without fear of aggression. If you can provide that, we have no quarrel with your continued existence. There was a long silence. Finally, the Emperor spoke. I must ask a question, Ambassador. Perhaps it is foolish, but I must know. That fleet at New Terra, at Proxima Junction, at the other battles. You mean that was not your full military? Rodriguez understood what he was really asking. She glanced at Admiral Zexther, then back to the Emperor. No, Emperor, those were peacetime forces, reserve units, and rapid response fleets, adequate for piracy and minor threats, but not designed for sustained warfare. And First Grand Fleet? The Emperor asked. The 80,000 ships currently surrounding my home world. That is our we are Sirius Now fleet, the largest single military formation we have ever assembled. It took 3 months to build and crew. The Emperor absorbed this, but that is still not your full capacity. Rodriguez hesitated, then decided the Emperor deserved the truth. No, it is not. She pulled up new displays showing data that human intelligence had kept classified until now. Emperor, let me explain something about human civilization. We do not maintain peace time armies the way most species do. We maintain the capacity to build wartime armies. What does that mean? Zexther asked. It means our entire economic system is designed for rapid military conversion. We have over 300 major shipyards. During peacetime they build cargo vessels, colony ships, research vessels. During wartime they build warships. Currently they are operating at about 30% of maximum capacity. Emperor stared at the numbers. 30%? Yes. If we went a full war production, every shipyard running at maximum civilian production suspended, we could build approximately 5,000 new warships per week. Maintain that production for 2 years. That would give us 500,000 ships. The silence in the room was Absolute Rodriguez continued, our population is 167 billion across human space. Every citizen receives mandatory military training during total mobilization. We could crew every one of those 500,000 ships and still have reserves. Our industrial capacity exceeds any other known civilization. Not because we are conquerors, but because we have always been afraid. Afraid of what? The emperor asked. Quietly, of extinction, of threats we could not predict. When humanity first reached the stars, we asked ourselves, what if we encounter hostile aliens? What if someone tries to destroy us? So we prepared, we built redundant systems, spread our population across hundreds of worlds, designed our economy for rapid military expansion, created military reserves in every colony. We became very, very good at war, and we hoped we would never need those skills. Rodriguez's expression softened. But then you attacked New Terra, killed our civilians, forced us to become what we had prepared for, and now you have seen what humanity is capable of when we are threatened. She leaned forward. But here is what you need to understand, Emperor. This first Grand Fleet, 80,000 ships. This is humanity being annoyed. This is us using a fraction of our capacity to deal with what we consider a regional threat. If you want to see our full military capacity, if you want to see what happens when humanity faces an existential threat, when we commit everything we have to total war, she let the sentence hang. The emperor finished it for her. The galaxy would burn, not the galaxy, just our enemies. We do not fight wars of conquest, Emperor. We fight wars of survival, and when we fight to survive, we do not stop until the threat is completely eliminated. No mercy, no quarter, total annihilation of anything that threatens our existence. Zexer found his voice. Why tell us this? You have won. We have surrendered. Why? Explain how much stronger you truly are. Rodriguez looked at him. Because I want you to understand what you started. What? You barely survived the New Terror attack, killed 40,000 civilians. If you had killed 40 million or 400 million, you would have seen total war, full mobilization, 500,000 ships, billions of soldiers, human fleets in every corner of the galaxy, and we would not have stopped with your military. We would have reduced every world to ash. She stood. I tell you this so you understand the mercy we are showing, the restraint. You attacked us, killed our people, and we are letting you live. We are letting your civilization continue. Because despite everything, we still believe in giving second chances, but there will not be a third chance. If the Valdor Empire ever threatens humanity again, there will be no negotiations, no mercy, only extinction. The Emperor stood as well. I understand, Ambassador, and I apologize for New Terra, for all of it. We believed we were facing primitives. We did not realize we were attacking the most dangerous species in the galaxy. We are not dangerous unless threatened, Rodriguez corrected. We just want to live in peace, to explore, to build, to create. But we learned long ago that sometimes peace must be defended with overwhelming force. That is the tragedy of our history. We became very good at violence because our survival required it. She gestured to the treaty documents. These terms are fair, Emperor. They ensure our security while allowing your civilization to continue. Sign them, honor them, and there will be peace between our peoples. Perhaps even friendship in time, Emperor. Vel looked at the documents for a long moment, then he signed them with the traditional Valdor seal. It is done. The war is over, Rodriguez nodded. First Grand Fleet will withdraw within the week. We will maintain a small embassy here and monitoring stations to verify treaty compliance, but we have no desire for a long-term military presence in your space. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Zexler escorted Rodriguez back to her shuttle. Before she boarded, he spoke. Ambassador, may I ask one more question? Of course, Admiral.